face. Though I know that I'm not supposed to do the same thing, I can't help myself, there's something about my DNA. So I pray to God, I know He made me this way. She cried for me.
Malik Yoba won our hearts decades ago with his roles in Cool Runnings and New York Undercover. For some of us diehard fans, it was his role as Tracy Ellis Ross's love interest Barack in Girlfriends that threw us completely over the edge, while for others it was a reaction to his powerful depiction of Gavin, the vulnerable, sensitive, loving architect married to Patricia, played by Janet Jackson in Tyler Perry's box office hits Why Did I Get Married and Why Did I Get Married Too? Or maybe you just can't get enough of his role as the smart and dedicated Bill Harkin in Sci-Fi Channel's hit series Alphas. Well, whatever the character, whatever the platform, the world knows him as a celebrated actor, writer, and producer. Buckle up and keep it locked, ladies. You want to watch this show. Over the last 2 years, I've come to know Malik as the Bronx, New York native on a lifelong mission to effect positive change in our global community, particularly through his gifts. He's passionate about education. He's an inspired speaker, a social activist, and a successful entrepreneur. Malik is also a dedicated father of 3. He absolutely loves his kids and takes the responsibility of parenting so seriously. In his own words, they've made him a better man. Something we got into this past February when we visited him in his Brooklyn home.
Malik Yoba, I love you. I love you.
What a way to start. Your husband's
It's true, he knows it. I do. You're a father, you're a philanthropist, you're someone that really cares about your community. And I just think it's fantastic that we're talking today. Let's start with what's hot right now, this incredible Alphas show that you're doing.
For the first time in a long time, I feel like I'm playing like a full character where like I'm able to use a lot of my talent. I'm excited.
Tell me what you think is the hook. I mean, because people are buzzing all over the place about this show.
The focus is on characters. I think people connect to the relationships and the dynamics between these people. That's the hallmark of any good show, any film, or any kind of story, but it was literature. It's like, do you care about these people?
Yeah.
Do you care about their relationships?
So let's talk a little bit about relationships, and in particular, I'm interested in the parenting dynamics. The big issue for me is, I'm raising a man. I keep reminding myself I'm raising a man, and I need to figure out how to instill the discipline and the appreciation for the fact that this is a man in the making. What are you doing to raise a man?
The whole question of manhood is a central theme in my life. Last night was the day after Valentine's Day, and on Valentine's Day, I didn't actually speak to any of my children, not on purpose, just because I got caught up with what I was doing, working or whatever. I talked to my son last night, and he says, "Dad, how come you didn't call on Valentine's Day?" And I said, "You know what? That was my intention." And I looked up, next thing I know, it was 10:30 and you guys were sleeping. I said, "Why didn't you call?" He goes, "But you're the father, it's your responsibility." I said, "No, it's not." I said, "I tell you all the time, I'm a human being. I like to get a call from you. You haven't called me in a minute with that early morning before school, 6 in the morning, Dad. I'm just calling to say hello." And so this idea of how do you teach your children to be responsible, and how when you provide things for them and they kind of take them for granted, at that point that you start shifting that sense of responsibility and holding them accountable. We know kids learn through the behavior that we model. My hustle, my drive, my sense of family, my sense of responsibility largely comes from what I saw my father do. Not what he said, but what he actually did.
Malik Yoba is a passionate storyteller. He believes in the idea of standing in your noblest existence. something that he learned from his father. Part of that means being present and being honest with yourself and others about the person that you really are. It was heartwarming to experience his passion about affecting change in the community that he lives. This is a guy that at 20 years of age was working in the arts education field across 13 high schools in New York City, teaching leadership, cultural diversity, and community building. His excitement about entrepreneurial ventures that he's engaged in that are geared towards revitalizing depressed communities in Maryland through real estate development was so inspiring. I was also struck by his conviction around the idea of being emotionally, physically, financially, spiritually healthy and well balanced, which requires a lot of hard work and resilience in the areas that count. Understanding that there's a greater purpose to our lives than just fulfilling our individual needs, and that purpose is accomplished by being of service to others is something that he absolutely got. The conversation took this really interesting turn when we started talking about some of the questions that MukamiTV fans like you have been asking about, wondering about what's on the hearts of men when it comes to love and relationships.
I talk to my viewers on Facebook, just get a sense of what they're interested in learning about the male perspective when it comes to love and relationships. And I got some really cool responses. What do men really want? They say they want a good woman, and many of them have a really good woman, but they still cheat on them. What's up with that?
Actually, since we're pulling out technology, I'm fascinated by this idea of cheating. There's a study that was done at Binghamton University a couple of years ago. They found out that there's a gene that can influence people's ability to be monogamous or not. That's an interesting concept because there's two ideas. One, I'm big on giving your word. One of the reasons why I stay single as a status, even if I date, I don't want to tell you I'm not going to cheat if I feel desirous of someone else.
Yeah.
As men, we haven't learned to, one, identify what that really is, and we try to stay in these sort of traditional structures that don't really work for us, and we aren't honest about it. I think human sexuality is as individual and as complex as a fingerprint, yet we all try to fit into a box. You know, I was reading something about in a school district in Minnesota in the last couple of years, 9 kids committed suicide, 4 of which from bullying, or 4 of which because of their sexuality. And you have this entire community that wants to teach us to stay neutral around this issue of sexuality. So I'm in your school, and a 13-year-old girl, the first one to kill herself, was taunted because kids called her a dyke. And when the teachers found out about it, they just told, oh, well, here's a rebuttal you can make. Say, you know, something like, I may change my hair, but you're always going to be ugly, or something like that, as opposed to dealing with the fundamental issue that this little girl was dealing with, which is, who is she as a sexual being?
Right.
The whole idea of men cheating, I think that we're all dealing with this condition that we don't fully understand, whether it's King Solomon in the Bible, you know, and that idea, or, I mean, especially now, whether it's Tiger Woods or Arnold Schwarzenegger or John Evans, why is that?
And yeah, I really want to get into that. So are you suggesting then that men are just predisposed genetically to cheating, and that the answer would be being honest and open about the struggle?
Calm down now, ladies. Do not be fooled by the cool demeanor. If the idea of a gene that predisposes people to infidelity doesn't wash with you, trust me, you are not alone. I was having palpitations at this point in the conversation, I promise. The idea just rubbed me the wrong way.
So this study, which was only done in 2010, says associations between dopamine D4 receptor gene variation with both infidelity and sexual promiscuity. So people can read about this if they want. I'm bookmarking it because it is fascinating to me. I think that there is a predisposition. Why do women walk by and we turn around and look at them? Speaking of raising a son, I'm waiting for my son to do that. When he was about 5, he was watching a Beyonce video, and he said, you know, all of a sudden he's looking down, he's like, Mom, it went up. She's like, yeah. I'm like, what? And she's looking, and then she's like, oh, He was watching television.
He was 5.
5. I remember being a kid in class, like the teacher calling you up to answer a question, you have an erection and you don't know why. I think as boys, we wake up with an erection. Why is that? What is that about? Why do we feel driven to do the things we do? And I think that over and over and over and over again, what is the message that we're sending as a society when we're telling men, be this way, but this is how we really are? One of the reasons why I'm so driven to do this work around men's issues, I started a foundation for fathers.
Yes.
I have my web series that I do, my film, the plays, these conversations, because we as a society have been lying. Just like saying everybody's supposed to be straight, just like saying, you know, people can't be transgender. Like, there are so many variations of who we are. I think that we don't even know why we cheat. I was talking to a friend recently. His wife is pregnant. He came over to another buddy's house. He said, oh man, you know, I just left, you know, this woman that I see sometimes, and he's trying to see her and the daughter.
So you know,
and he's got a wife. And this is what he said though. This is what he said. He goes, he's sitting in the house with the woman, and he's like, look, I love my wife. There's nothing wrong at home. I can't even tell you why I'm doing this. I'm just doing it. And that right there is the most honest that I've heard a man be in a long time. Yes, there are incidences where, you know, the wife's not providing you with what you want, or you're bored, or you're not commuting, whatever those things are. But then I think there's a lot of it where we just, the wind blows and you want to go. I have another friend whose wife was pregnant, and she said to him, look, I know that I may not be the most attractive to you right now, so I'm giving you permission.
Oh no.
But here's a kicker. He said to me, the fact that my wife even suggested I could do that made me not want to cheat. He said he loved her so much more because she gave him that leeway.
So is it true? Are we lying to ourselves as women? Do we have these unrealistic expectations about the fidelity of our men? Is there some validity to the idea that some men are somehow hardwired to cheating? Or is it that these men have conveniently been conditioned to believe that? I don't know. And what does that say about how we define committed, exclusive relationships in this society? As women, are we willing to accept the idea that our men will love us, they'll show up when it counts and provide for our children and families, they'll even treat us like queens, but that they may stray, wander, whatever you want to call it as well? If your guy said this to you, would you kick him to the curb or would you stand by him? Kind of takes me back to that episode on VH1's Love and Hip Hop, where, you know the one I'm talking about, where Chrissy was talking to Emily, Fabulous's on and off girlfriend, about this very issue.
You know what though? I hear what you said earlier about, for instance, your decision to keep your status as single because you recognize that you might have a need to be with someone else. And so you're being honest with yourself and with those in a relationship with you about who you are. But what about a situation like that where the husband and these are people that have made a lifelong commitment to each other. They're in a covenant relationship.
Mm-hmm.
What's the point of being in that relationship if you can't stick to the commitment?
The big issue is how introspective are you and how willing are you to become radically honest with yourself and radically self-aware. If you're at least on that path, you will come up with decisions for yourself.
Yeah. So how do you then instill a level of confidence and security in the woman that you're with under those circumstances, with that context?
I think you just try to be as honest as you can. The confidence doesn't just come from, is he going to cheat? I think there's a lot of things. Is he sensitive to my needs? Is he a good listener? Does he support my dreams? Does he care about my feelings? Is he expressive? Is he communicative? Is he driven? I think there's all kinds of variables that contribute to one's confidence. But I think that for me at my age, I have to be radically honest with myself about that. Because if I give you my word, I don't want to lie. I don't want to be that guy.
I respect Malik's perspective. He makes an interesting point about the idea of self-awareness and integrity. But I have to admit, this conversation got me riled up and thinking. So guys, girls, what's your take on it? Check out the article when you have a moment. I've provided a link down below and get into the conversation. Malik and I will continue the dialogue on Twitter and Facebook, and we would love to know what you think. So start talking. Check out Malik's hit TV series Alphas on the Sci-Fi channel, or go to sci-fi.com/alpha to get fully caught up on all those episodes that you've missed. As always, keep it locked on MukamiTV, where your stories are inspiring, empowering, and transforming lives.
Yes.
Something short and sweet, maybe I'll sing along.
No, because you don't know the song. But here you go. Yes, you want an honesty song?
Yeah.
She cries for me too often, but I'm honest. I gotta be, 'cause I know she finds it hard to be by my side. Never know when she's calling like she did last night. Was a stranger till she passed me by. Now she's sexting me on Skype. There I go again, falling for a pretty face. Though I know that I'm not supposed to do the same thing, I can't help myself, there's something about my DNA. So I pray to God, I know that He made me this way. I tried to love her only, but I couldn't. Lie to myself, my word means everything to me. A contradiction, my admission. It's addiction to pretty faces that I see.
This is going to be a really interesting show. You know what? I want to know what you think. You know what? Why don't we just stop the recording? And I want to know what you really think. So, is it genetic, or is it, what is... I'm serious. Do we need to turn this thing off and have a for real conversation? Tell me what you think.
I don't know.
I think I'm gonna have to turn off the cameras now.
That I see, but I do it honestly. Still I go again, falling for a pretty face. Though I know that I'm not supposed to do the same thing, I can't help myself, there's something about my DNA. So I pray to God, I know that He made me this way.
That's beautiful.
That's my
Oh
song.
my God,